So just talk to me about how important swimming is to you and just being in the water and the feelings that gives you.
Um, it's a feeling of like peace, happiness, and the silence. I love the silence. Like I love absolute peace and quiet. And just hearing the water as your hands glide through. Um, it's just amazing, and that's what I love the most about it.
And when you were younger, when you were a child, was it a way of escaping life to a certain extent and just going somewhere where you felt just really happy and at ease with everything?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely somewhere I could escape to, and it was like somewhere I felt a sense of normal um, and enjoyment because it was just something that I loved doing. Um, and it was actually really nice to be able to learn like a skill and something that I was fairly okay at before and just being able to perfect it.
And you have an intellectual impairment, you are on the autism spectrum, so your disabilities are invisible. What challenges does that create for you?
It creates a big challenge because I'm constantly explaining myself to people. And a lot of the time, people think that I'm racing people that are more severely disabled than me, and they think it's unfair. Um, but it's just because they don't actually understand the Paralympics. Someone that doesn't understand learning disabilities, how it affects my life, if that makes sense, because people just think a learning disability is dyslexia, and how is that going to affect like swimming? Why does it make any difference? Why can't you just go to the normal Olympics? Um, and it's very difficult to explain to people like how working out the clocks and how just trying to have a conversation with people can be really difficult at times, and the autism is just an added extra on top of the learning disability for me. So it just makes it a bit harder for me to be able to deal with situations.
Is it difficult though, because do you appreciate that whilst it's tiring and frustrating, if somebody like you doesn't explain your disability, then actually it's going to be harder for the next person to come along. Do you know what I mean? If you want things to improve in the future, then perhaps somebody like yourself needs to be playing a part in that. Do you accept that?
Yeah, it's really tough because like locally it'll be like Jess has won gold at the Paralympics, and everyone's like, well, why is she at the Paralympics? I'm like, because I have a disability. And they're like, well, why? What's wrong with you? You've got all of your arms and legs. You're not paralysed. And sometimes I think, oh, I wish I did just have one arm because then I could just be like, this is why. But it's just like continuously explaining that I have a learning disability, and then it's not just that they then want to know what learning disabilities, what type of autism have I got, but like why should I have to list everything that's wrong with me? Because I'd be there half the day telling them all sorts of things. So yeah, it is hard, and I think maybe society needs to change a little bit, but it is what it is, and I'm hoping that when younger generations come through, it will be much easier for them.
If you want to hear more from Jessica Jane Applegate, then check out a Winning Mindset podcast on all major podcast platforms.